Welcome to Critical Café,
Join us as we chat about the latest episode,
the campaign as a whole, and Critical Role in general.
all while we partake in a delicious cup of coffee. So grab yourself a tasty beverage
Settle into your favorite cozy spot.
and get ready for a little geek philosophy. Welcome everybody to Critical Cafe. If you are joining us for the first time, this is where the Geek Philosophy channels sits and talks and chats about Critical Role, specifically Campaign 3. My name is Brian. This is Crystal,
Hi.
which I guess you could see on your screen already, but just in case. Welcome to the chat. If you are joining us, looks like Brock is in and ready to go. Welcome. I'm sure we'll have others popping in and out as we go. Just a couple housekeeping notes to begin with. If you like to support the channel, you'll see in the notes below that you can buy us a cup of coffee if you'd like, or just subscribe to the channel and like and turn on the notifications. Do all those things. That really helps us out as well. And yeah, we're going to jump right in. So, Crystal, are we ready?
Yeah, ready to go.
All right, let's do it. All right, so as we do on the live show, we head on over to Critical Recap, which Danny Carr puts together to do a recap of the last episode. This one is episode 50 of Campaign 3, Red Moon Rising. So let's scroll down and take a look at the notes. So we'll kind of go through these to keep us on track, and then we'll pop over to the chat and discuss. Instead of reading through all these, I'm just going to do some highlights. So the first section of the Critical Recap notes is talking about discussions. So this is in the morning hours of Apogee Solstice. So Bell's Hells are discussing what they're going to do. There's sort of what are they going to do with Captain Xandus if they actually go through with the skyship kamikaze action. So we'll see how that all turns out as things go, but they have to check with him and see how it goes. They also have SCG flipping the coin and asking the Changebringer as they want to do, and then they decide yes they need to, which is kind of troubling to FCG. Ira warns them of lewdness, and they are starting to take a look at what this might mean for them, especially since if lewdness is actually seeing the calamity, and that was almost 900 years ago, guy's pretty old. So after a discussion on who should be on which team, because they're going to have sort of the skyship team and then the ground team, they decide that FCG and Fern are going to stay on the skyship along with Ira and maybe Xandus if that's how it works out. But they're a little bit worried about that because can they really trust Ira? Xandus is definitely not comfortable with that, but they agree to stay on the ship after testing Fern's ability to fly the ship. So that's kind of how we start this off. Let's head over to the chat and then we can discuss. So Crystal, what are you thinking about the kickoff to this whole episode?
Well, so as any, epic battle begins, there's so much planning in advance that a lot of times never really comes to fruition. And so I feel like the first half of the episode is so much planning and, I guess assuming of what could happen and what their plans could be and what they could do. And then they get this bright idea of flying the ship into the key, the Malleus key, to destroy it. And they also have, I guess they're going to fly the ship into the key, but then they also have the big bomb. But the bomb is of arcane means, right? Like they have this bomb that Imahara Joe created for them on board. And so then they come, they decide who's going to stay. And Fern is all about learning how to fly the ship, but then she isn't doing a very good job. So Captain Xandus is not very comfortable with her being able to do it properly, especially if she's supposed to be hitting like a bullseye. So, Matt gives her a couple of times to kind of try and practice, and then, skill checks and whatnot. And I think she failed one, but she passed another one. So it was kind of like, you're better. So
Yeah, I guess it'll do. Yeah.
and then Xanis brings up a good point, because they're doing is talking about him, about whether he's going to stay on board and help them fly it, or whether he's going to get off. And he's like, what about the rest of the crew? There are people on the ship that I care and I love for, so we need to at least get them off, find somewhere to get them safe, and then, he decides to stay on board, but and help out. But, he's like, it's not just me, guys. And I love him.
Well,
I love them, by the way. I think they go by them. Xandis goes by them.
I think so.
Yeah. They're so much fun. They're the laughter in the middle of all of this, because it's tense with Ira there. They don't trust him. He's so creepy. I mean, his little eye spy thing comes in handy. His eyeglass thing. It reminds me of something from like Whoville or something from, Dr. Seuss or Tim Burton. But
it does kind of remind you of like a Tim Burton-esque, like telescope-ish type thing. Yeah.
Something that just kind of, eyeballs out.
I think what's like, again, putting DM hat on again, I think that really good job by Matt in not just the letting the roles happen, but I think sometimes, from a game perspective, that NPC reality, like what I mean by that is like the world of the NPC sometimes gets overlooked, and they did it, and they're seasoned role players. They've been doing it for a while. Like, how does their plan affect Xandis? But then, like you said, the rest of the crew and, all of the things that are going on. And I think it's a natural thing to forget that as players sometimes, because you're so focused on what the mission objective is. But it's again, I mean, mark of a great DM to be able to speak as that character in the moment and kind of bring it back to the reality of it, which I think in a lot of ways highlights the importance of what they're doing.
Yes.
Romeo thinks so too. It's funny.
Sorry.
People watching the video, as you were talking, they will be able to see him jump in the background up to whatever piece of furniture on that side, and then you can just imagine him making his way towards the camera from the left side and then right in front, and that's kind of what he did. So anyway,
he's fine. He's fine until I start talking, and then when I start talking, he's got to come over and try to get right on me or in my face.
Yep.
It's like he can't imagine that I'm talking to someone else instead of him. So
yep, you will see the stalking happen. Like you'll see
silly
him
cat
jump up and then go, I guess, this way. I'm not gonna be able to do the thing right, but anyway. So my point is, with Xandis as an NPC saying things like that, it really, I think, hits home with the players and the audience watching how much the real world effects of what's going on. Because if they even just have to think about people living on the ship, they also have to think about how does this affect the rest of the world, like all the things that are going on, the towns they've been through, the people they pass on the street. I don't know. I think it's a good reminder when you have an NPC interaction like that, of how it really draws in the story and it makes it more realistic. So yeah.
Well, and I don't really love how Chetney approached Xandis about it, with him talking about how they're going to have a grander ship and they're going to, I don't know. It was just a weird way to lean into that story, I guess, instead of just saying, hey, look, man, we're going to try to save the world or save the gods or do a good thing. It was just really strange to me that he was trying to talk up the fact that, hey, well, we'll rehire you. And, I don't know. And then they want him to be part of the death crew or the suicide squad, but you don't want to tell him what you're really doing or why you're really doing it. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's continue. Let's take a look at the
Hi, William.
Hey, William. Good to have you. We will. Oh, and I saw a comment. We will bring it back in next time we head over to the chat. Um, let's move on to splitting the party, because that will be a good one as we go forward. All right, so splitting the party. So Imogen, really kind of good realization that circlet that she got keeps her from all of the wandering thoughts, which she's always had the issue with. So that means for the first time in a long time, she has sort of silence that she can have. And so there's a dust storm that hits after that, and they get off in a safe spot. They give supplies and a map to Bassaris just in case they need to go that way. Imogen sends a message to Keyleth with their location, and she tells her to look for a tree and give her a time, and the cavalry won't be quiet when they show up, which is true. Can only imagine. Ground team, so you got Laudna, Imogen, Orem, Ashton, and Chetney. They disguise themselves as Ruby Vanguard and Paragon's Call, and then they're kind of a mile outside of where the ruins are. They land the skyship. Skyship team needs about a 10-minute warning to be able to arrive at the ruins. So they say goodbyes, but then everybody's like, wait, these are more, let's get pumped up for this, not goodbye forever. They don't need to have faith in the gods. They trust each other, and they believe what they can do. When Ashton hugs Fern, he attempts to steal from her, which is funny. And then when they fail, they ask what they're looking for, and Ashton requests something personal and irreplaceable, so Fern gives him a kiss on the head, which is nice. And Ashton thinks that would be much harder to steal back. Fern's asked them to take care of everyone, and then hugs their exchange. The ground team boards the crawler. It made me forget, by the way, that they even had the crawler until they mentioned it at that point. And they head towards the sinkhole. So let's head back over to chat. All right, so what do you think about the things unfolding so far?
Well, I feel like, they're only a mile out from the crater or the hole where the sinkhole where the Malleus Key is at. And I feel like they thought about so much stuff that I don't really feel like they actually thought about the distance. I don't know. I feel like they were caught unaware by the terrain, by like how close they were, by the sound of things. It's like they kept thinking that because they were in this sandstorm, it was going to be this amazing camouflage. But I'm like, it's a huge skyship. It's a loud crawler. It's,
Yeah, I'm trying not to be too hard on them, but I don't think it was their best planning that they've done.
Well, I think they were spending so much time figuring out how to destroy the key that they didn't figure out how to get there, really.
Yes. And I also, I feel like, and I guess we'll get to it in a bit, but I also feel like Matt did a good job of sort of course correcting some of that, like as far as like putting things in to show here's how things are going as they're getting closer. But yeah, let me bring in, we can talk about William's comment. So I believe Ludinus are there to give Prodothus back his powers. Every time it was there, it was a flare that diminishes his powers. That could be, like, if there was a flare, it diminishes his powers. The other thing he brought up was, I have a thought that came up that I have no proof, but I feel is right. What if Ludinus needs all the people with the special powers to be at the key location? That's interesting. So in other words, what if he's sort of collecting all of the Ruidus-born people, and that's somehow gonna be the connection to unlocking, what's going on?
Oh, yeah. I definitely think because of that whole vision that Imogen's mom showed her where they didn't have powers anymore. That's the thing she's hoping for, is to have the mom is to have a normal life and not to be, I guess, special or used for her powers anymore, or have these powers draining her, I guess. So I definitely think that is totally, he is the god that is giving them those powers. because he can't do anything. So that's the stuff that can eke through, and kind of place hold until he can take them back, I guess. So it'll be
Well, and
really interesting.
it also makes me wonder, like, is he actually giving them the powers? Or is it that because he's confined, the powers are seeping out and they just happen to have been born at the right time to get those from him? Like, it's not, I don't think it
Right.
was, maybe it is a choice, like, or maybe it's just, nope, he's been losing power and they're the ones that got it and they are going to use this situation to give it back to him. I don't know. It's interesting to see how this plays out. Yeah, I guess as we progress too, there's other things that kind of uh, tie into this with the
Yeah,
rest of
yeah.
this. So.
But they split the party, and I can't really say I disagree with it so much. They're trying for a stealthy approach, the ground team, and then they have set it up so that it will only take about 10 minutes for the sky team to show up. But that's 10 minutes in the sky ship, so that's only if that plan pans out.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot to that whole
Right.
thing. I don't know. I
It's like
also
it's like
just
dominoes. Just every
yeah.
single thing has to go off at just the right time. And I can't imagine that things are going to hinge on Ira
Part of
following.
me, yeah. So I don't know, maybe I'm just off base on this, but like part of me was thinking that they would do something different. I thought that instead of crashing the skyship, that they were going to use the skyship like a bomber to fly over it and drop the bomb. Like what? And then they could go do what they needed to do if they were rather than sacrifice the whole ship. That way they could use sort of a skeleton crew on the ship. Everybody would be together. They drop the bomb and then they keep going, land whatever they got to do, and then get attacked by who knows. Yeah.
I
Well,
feel
let's.
like I feel like that might have been one of the first ideas and one of the reasons why they got the bomb from Imahara Joe. But then somebody yelled out something about using the sky ship, and then everything reverted. Because I feel like having the bomb is redundant. Like, if you're going to crash the
Yes.
sky ship, why does it matter if you also have a bomb on the sky? Like, I
Yeah, I mean,
mean,
unless they're counting on like the runestone to do something, or like I don't know. I guess we'll see how it
well,
how it.
that has to be dispelled or turned off for it to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
It'll be interesting to see what
All right,
happens.
let's keep going. We'll see what they got going on. So, all right, we have gone through splitting the party. Now, love how she puts this: infiltration.
Oh yeah.
After moving just a short distance, they hide the crawler. They continue on foot. There's a tree big enough for Keyleth, which is good. Um, and Orem marks it with a symbol, the Ashari symbol. And then they also find a structure. When then they find out that this is a Vasselheim skyship. I feel I don't know. We'll get to it later, but in a downed ship. So they make it to the edge of the pit where there's some steps and some tents and there's people and there's uh, automatons. They're moving things around or walking perimeter. When the crawler rides by, it leaves them alone, but they're noticed by 3 Ruby Vanguard members. Imogen tells the leader that they are with Miss Tumult. So she's already doing possibly deception here, I think, saying that she is with them. But then they get recognized and they say, hey, have you been infiltrated? And then, they basically start fighting. Chetney turns into his wolf form, attacks, combat begins. Yeah. So, what do you think first? I'll start there, and then I have a thought that I want to make sure I mention. But go ahead.
Um, again, I feel like their entrance has the ability to completely undo all of the planning that they've had. It just seems like they spent so long trying to come up with a way to bomb the thing that they didn't come up with a way to actually really infiltrate. It's like, let's just throw in some cloaks and let's go, guys. There's no plan. There's no, hey, if this happens, you run. If this happens, you run. If this this is what we're gonna say. This is who we're gonna claim that we're with. It's like part of me feels like because Imogen is telekinet or telepathic, it's like they just fly by the seat of their pants because she could talk under their head. But then that leaves her coming up with every single thing that happens. And Laura's good at that, but I mean,
yeah, like
Imogen's
I said, I don't
not
think this was
so
their
much.
best planning.
I feel like Imogen's a little bit she's not used to leading the group and making the decisions. So I don't know. I feel like it was hasty. I feel like them coming upon that skyship, hello, first and foremost, that should tell you there. Maybe it isn't the best plan.
Warning sign. Hey, they can bring down a skyship, guys. So
I agree. So, and then there's all these people about. Like, you just walked up. Yeah. I was having a hard time with that part.
I was a little nervous about how Laura played that scenario. I still feel as if it could go either way, that she turns on the group or is she still with them? Like, even after that, I felt like she could go that route. I hope she doesn't, but I feel like she could. I don't know. What do you think? I
don't know. I feel like after this whole episode, I felt better about Imogen. I felt like some of the stuff we find out later in this episode, I feel like it solidified in my mind. I think she won't. But, again, I think that circlet, if they hadn't have gotten that, I think that's going to play a pivotal role because I feel like the constant beating against her brain of outside voices, thoughts, images from other people, I think that puts a strain on her holding it together. And if they can access her mind, they could put more strain on her. So I feel like the circlet is like pivotal for keeping Imogen on the side of the team.
No, you're probably right. I think that's fair. Like, if she had been pushed more, if she'd still had all those things happening. Yeah. But part of me also thinks, does the circlet give her a glimpse of what it would be like if her mom is right? Like, I don't know.
I think it helps her control it better because I think that she likes having powers. She likes being different. She likes being special. I just think she hated feeling like she was always on the outskirts of everything because it hurt her to be social.
Yeah, fair. We'll see. But I agree. I don't. I'm leaning more towards that than I am, but I still feel like the door is open. So.
Oh yeah, it could go kind of either way, but I have more hope now that we got the circlet that she's not gonna go boom.
But devices can be stolen or lost or whatever. You know? Like,
we've beefed Laudna up a little bit. We've beefed Laudna up a little bit, and we've given Imogen some protection, mental protection. So I feel like we've helped her trigger, not be so easy to kill. Yep. And then we've guarded her mind. So, it was very strategic on Matt's part for the things that he offered, and they weren't cheap. So they could have chosen not to take them.
And they gave them to the right people. So,
yes.
They did it the right way, I think. So
yeah, I agree.
Right, let's move on, shall we? So, all right, so we've got battle starting after the infiltration. They fight against the Ruby Vanguard, and there's a huge automaton known as a warder
Like
that's there.
huge.
It has
Huge.
hollow torso, it has a flamethrower. They basically take care of the Vanguard members, and then they do like a combo move with Imogen and Laudna, with Pate, of course, and destroy the warder. And then as combat ends, Imogen is grabbed, pulled into a tent, kind of rear naked choke style, and asks why she's fighting. They struggle. Imogen demands to talk face to face, and it is Bo of Cobalt Soul and the Mighty Nine. So we now have a trifecta campaign, crossover going on.
Poor Matt.
She's been chasing Ludinus for a decade, it turns out. They talk privately, and they talk about how Bo was going to destroy the Malleus key and take Ludinus back to prison. But Bo's not by herself. She's there with an invisible who then comes out of his invisibility, Caleb. And so Caleb Widowgas, also of the Mighty Nine that we know, they explain that they are friends of the Grim Verity and that they came here with Plane Rider Rin. So they were with Plane Rider Rin when the turning to stone happened. And it was caused by accidentally activating a glyph ward. And they can't restore her, but they have friends who can. And they've been by biding their time and kind of investigating what's going on in the area. So let's, should we talk about comparing notes or stop there for a second?
Let's just stop there. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the chat here.
So
right.
First and foremost, were you surprised at how easy they killed this automaton? Because I really felt like it took hardly anything. And I like the size of the thing, and like there was more fear about it than there was, I think, substance in some ways.
My thought is that it could have had a vulnerability to lightning.
And they overloaded it.
Yeah, so like, and I don't know this for a fact, but like,
right.
D&D terms, at least in 5e, right? Like if you are vulnerable to something, then you take twice the damage. So if it was vulnerable to lightning damage, they hit it with a pretty decent thing, and then that would have been even worse than it was, right?
And then Pate was like, okay. All right.
Yeah.
It was like a window cling, like
exactly. Yeah.
Going in, guys.
We were watching this, and almost as soon as it was Imogen gets taken, I was like, you know who I think that could be?
Yeah, you were like, uh-oh.
That sounds. And then it put me over the edge as soon as she almost couldn't move, but then she made the saving throw. I was like, that was a stunning strike.
She got hit on the shoulder or something.
Yeah.
Tapped on the shoulder.
And I was like,
you were like, I know what that was.
And I was like, that was a Monk's stunning strike right there. And I thought it was just really well done.
Then of course Matt was like, you see a buff woman, no sleeves, and we're like, oh, Bo. Oh, it was so good. And then I'm like, poor Matt.
Old characters is yeah.
Yes. And then everybody at the table,
too, so.
Oh gosh, he's so good. And then everybody at the table is just like, oh my god, we've got Keyleth, now we've got Bo, now we've got Laudna,
and Caleb. It's
I know.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I probably the most complex of previous to other characters. The biggest crossover campaign, I don't know, campaign 2, campaign 1. I'm trying to think of what the biggest one there, but like there were a few, but this is the most crossover of
Yeah.
campaigns ever, right? Because there's 3 campaigns obviously now, but like the fact
Right.
that all 3 of them have sort of intersected, again, based on the stuff that happens, we've talked about this for a few episodes now, or a few Critical Cafes now. I still think it goes back to Matt Mercer, the Dungeon Master, had this whole thing planned for campaign 2. He had things he wanted to do. That didn't happen, which is fine. The campaign took a different direction, and he did what he was going to do. But he didn't let all that stuff die. He was like, okay, we'll just move on to that later.
Yeah.
This is
It's an
later.
extension. And we're finding it all out. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because Bertrand himself was from season 1, right? Like
Well,
he
kind of.
loosely.
He was campaign 1. He was
Right.
when they did the search for Grog. So
And they sent him
yeah.
back to Whitestone after he passed because that's where he was from.
Mhm.
So, he's a loose tie to
yeah.
season 1
Yeah.
as well, and he's their whole like namesake. So that was kind of the first tie-in, I think. Really,
I think so. He was the first real tie-in of the whole 3rd campaign. He was kind of an honorary member of Vox Machina because
and the residuum that they didn't really know about. Know what it was,
Yeah.
But and then Caleb unveiled, and that was cool. I just keep waiting for Frumpkin and Pate to meet. That's gonna be exciting.
Well, so here's the thing.
Frumpkin can't
right?
talk, but it'll still be funny.
I don't think there is Frumpkin. Because
Why?
because remember at the end of campaign 2, he let Frumpkin
Oh, he let him go. I forgot. Dang it.
He might have a new familiar. But he let the Fey cat kind of walk into the wilderness.
Forgot. I forgot.
So
you're right.
But that doesn't mean he couldn't have come back. Like, I mean, who knows? It's been years and years now, right?
It could be Frumpkin Jr.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, it's really interesting. Okay, so let's go to when they compare notes and they talk about what's going on, because there's a lot of stuff to unpack there. But
it was such a good episode.
It really was. It was.
Once we got past all the crazy scheming they were doing, that was just like round and round and round before they got there.
Yes, started out a little shaky, and then
yeah.
All right, so comparing notes, you got Bo and Caleb, and they're talking about that the solstice has brought a bunch of things to light. No pun intended. Because of all of the mages attempting to use its power. So a lot of people are trying to use the solstice for a lot of different purposes. Some of those were real, but then others, like the Elder Cross Cult and the Carrion Breach and Splinter of the Children of Malice, were all fronts that were connected to the Ruby Vanguard. In other words, like things that were there in one shape or form, but all tie back to Ruby Vanguard. And they've been following Ludinus for years, getting proof that they need, but he knows they're after him. And Ludinus doesn't know the Bell's Hells very well yet, but they have encountered him. And they've also, encountered the generals, Odahan, and, obviously Imogen's mom. And, they had all of the things that were going on with the whole Laudna dying and everything else. So they compare all these notes and see what's going on. Imogen wonders if Ludinus did something to Liliana, like she wants to help her mom. So they explain their plan to crash the skyship. Bo and Caleb saw the other skyship get attacked, and it was struck down by Ludinus, or at least at his order, and they haven't seen him in days, but it was on a clear day, so since it's a dust storm, maybe they won't get taken down, who knows. Bo and Caleb were the ones attempting to destroy the Shadowfell's Malleus Key, and they were only able to damage it before they had to flee. The other friends of the Verity were lost in the attempt. So lots to unpack there.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, what do you think?
So, number one thing that I think that we didn't know until now, or then, is that Imogen's mom's a general.
Yeah, that's great.
We didn't know that.
Yeah.
We just thought, we knew she was powerful. we knew she was working with him or under him in some capacity, but we had no clue that she was second under him or in like equal with Odahan.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. Like, in my mind, instantly, whenever they start talking about when Bo and Caleb start talking about the two generals and they talk about Odahan and then they talk about his exaltant, I was like, oh no. This whole time, Imogen has been so desperate to get her mom away from him, has been thinking that she can save her, has been hopeful that she can have a relationship with her mom, has been hoping that the reason why her mom is telling her to stay away is because she wants to protect her and that she somehow has been duped to be there. You know, it's like, but now you find out she is a general for him. So. I don't know.
I,
I mean,
I don't know
it's
either.
looking real slim, you know?
Yeah. It's going to be rough. I think the biggest takeaway from all of that number one, again, game mechanic DM hat, they were rolling without knowing what they were rolling for a couple games back. And what they were rolling for were things that were happening during the Shadowfell attack and what was going on with the other people. Because it was Bo and Caleb, it was Marisha and Liam doing the rolls. So they were rolling for their other characters. And they didn't know that that's what it was until just this episode, which I thought was great. Like, Matt didn't roll it, he had them roll it, and they didn't know what they were rolling for. And then they had some people not make it during the Shadowfell thing. And likely because they said when one key goes down, there's a surge in the other and all this other stuff. So it might have been harder for them to defeat and all that other stuff. So there's just a lot of interconnected stuff going on. Just, I thought, really, really well done from an overall like art perspective. So that was really interesting to me. The other thing that I thought was interesting is, and I don't know if it's in this section or maybe a little bit later, but they kind of say they're like, "Are you willing to kill her?" Like when they're talking about the mom.
Yep.
Imogen's mom, and she's like, "I'd rather not." So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think she's still under the thought that he had, like it says, I think Imogen still thinks that he's done something to her. What I think he has done to her is I think he's brainwashed her. I think he has fed her this dream. I think he has shown her this vision. I think he has sold her on this idea of going back to being normal. When in reality, if you've killed all of these people and you've orchestrated all of this stuff and you've worked for this like mob boss type of guy, there is no normal for you. Like, you don't get to just go be a normal person afterwards. You're a casualty, you know, like,
yeah,
you're a means to an end.
And that's all true. But part of me is also like, I don't want to discount the fact that like she might just be on his side, like not necessarily completely brainwashed. Maybe she just really wants that power. She really wants to do. She's a true believer in what's going on, because the only lens that we're seeing information about her mom is through other people, and then the little glimpse that we get is when she makes telepathic contact, like in a dream type of thing. But like, we know from her dad some things. We know from the other people that she met that she studied with, and from journals and from other stuff. We know from, Odahan. We know from all these people, like, but we don't know from her. So I'm really curious to actually get some screen time with her to see what she actually says and does in front of other people, because she could be the one manipulating Imogen just as much as she's been manipulated possibly by Lewdness. Maybe she's doing the same thing to Imogen right now, or a similar thing. I don't want to just give her a free pass in my mind, because she could be bad. She just could be on the bad side,
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, she doesn't get a free pass in my mind. I feel like Imogen wants to give her a free pass
Yeah.
because she's her daughter and she's never known her. She wants to think that her mom wouldn't be this monster, but I think that Ludinus has shown her a way to accomplish something that she wants.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, let's see what else we got here. Getting close to wrapping this up for the full. Thanks for making friends, comparing notes.
Hi, open world addict.
Hey, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. All right, so magic precautions. So as for the ruins, Bo and Caleb know that the site is illusion proof. This is really interesting too, and that the tower is sending out energy that's like anti-magic, right? Like disrupts the magic every single minute. It's crazy. So this pulses seem to emanate from mirrors along the cavern walls. They don't destroy anything, but they interrupt spells and subdue anything magically. So it's sort of like temporarily shutting down the magic. There's also a mage hunter golem along the base of the device. Craziness. And it seems that Ludinus reverse engineered Age of Arcanum tech from the ruins of Aeor and built some distilled dunamis in his central key. Caleb teaches them that dunamis is this form of magic, just kind of telling them what's been going on. It's one of the oldest forces. The Malleus key has been reinforced with residuum, and the arcane cores have been separated and buried in nearby chambers. So this is going to be a multi-pronged thing. Bo's concerned that Ludinus has been sloppy, and he showed that he showed his hands, with the Vanguard a few months ago, and it felt intentional. So it's like he's planning something. He's counting for them to show up. He's always, playing chess. He's always ahead of them. So now Ludinus seems to be operating outside of the Cerberus assembly. That comes back to another point I need to make. No one here knows about his activity. Bo thinks Ludinus is just another mage for him to take down, like Hollis, Trent, and Benethar. And Bo and Caleb were planning to use the illusion between bursts and dispelled magic, counting on an eventual distraction. Belzel's explained that the Ashari are coming, and that could be a distraction. All right. Before I jump in, what do you think?
Well, I think it's really cool that we see the name finally coming out, Dudamus, for the group to know, what the green substance is that they've been carting around with the motes of possibilities, and in Ashton's head, and the potion that got poured on him, and all of that stuff. So, and then the backpack that Odahan wears, all that gray viscousy, things that have happened this whole time. So they finally have a name for it and an explanation. So I think that's great. But and we get a little bit of history too, knowing that they've been working together, hunting down rogue mages and people who were doing things behind the scenes. We knew about Ikathon, but there's a couple that okay, all right, they've been hunting down bad people. We've got 10 years that they've been roughly or so that we've kind of not really known exactly what they're doing. And then we find out they're the only two there from season 2, our group, the Mighty Nine. And then letting them know that the Ashari is coming or are coming. So that at least gives them, they know that there's going to be a larger force of magic users and things coming. So that's going to help. But this whole minute in between the anti-magic field that goes off is going to screw stuff up.
Yes. I mean,
bad.
What happens with how do they get off the ship? Like Featherfall stops working. Whatever. I don't know. Any of the issues there. It's pretty interesting. I think that the big takeaway for me was that it feels as if not only are the plans unraveling, but it seems as if the plans are going the direction that Ludinus wants them to go. Like, based on what Bo's saying, I think he wants all the things that they're trying to do. He wants that to happen. Part of me also wonders, if you remember, like, this whole dunamancy thing and what Caleb's goal was at the end of season 2 and he didn't do it. He destroyed everything and said he did not go back in time. He didn't go say, like, that's because of Caleb's inner morality and ethics but who's to say that someone as old and as powerful as Ludinus hasn't figured that out already? So maybe he knows because he's already seen it.
Yeah.
Maybe like these things have already played out and he's back and now seeing them, okay, now I know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So
like the movie we were watching last night,
100% is one of the reasons how I wanted to watch it. So we watched Edge of Tomorrow, and like, if you can go back and you know what's going to happen, Groundhog Day for everybody else, like whatever movie like analogy you want to make, but if there's dunamancy involved and you can turn back the clock, what if he's done that? He knows how everything's played out. And that's why he's alive so long. Maybe he can keep rolling back his internal clock.
And my question, though, is if you've installed an anti-magic like trigger that goes off every minute, and most of the people that you have are magical people, how is your defense all automatons for the most part? Or it's the Paragon's call, I guess, because they're mercenaries. I guess those are the people that they're relying on to be their non-magical muscle.
I don't know, but I also don't know like if the automatons are like, they're alive, right? So like they're sort of like the way FCG is.
I don't know. I didn't really understand if it was or not, because I know it was based off of that, but I didn't know if it was exactly that.
Yeah, so like the Aormatons were living beings, I think. That's a good point. If they're just magically powered.
They were based off of the old Aormatons, and some of their mechanics were used, but I didn't get the sense that they were living.
See, I got the opposite. I thought they were living, like FCG is living. Otherwise, they'd be more like golems, which are magic-powered things that can move around, like he just said, like Caleb said was guarding, because that can be temporarily shut down then. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. Like, a lot of this is how Matt has.
Well, and what's a mage hunter? Is that like the one that we saw at the other town?
I don't know if it's just like the title of what the golem does. Like they're saying this is equipped. All the things that it does is specially equipped to go after magic users, basically.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a.
I can't remember what the name of them were. They were the ones that were employed by the royal family. that they saw in that city that was all around surrounded by water. What was the name of those?
The ones that have been around forever.
Right.
I can't remember either right now.
It'll come to us later
in the chat. Let us know. But yeah, we'll definitely look it up. But I think that
Judicator.
It's all going to Judicator. That's it. Yeah, I think it's all going to depend on like the ins and outs of like what is controlled by magic, what is alive, what is not. Like a good example of that was like even I think Travis was like, "Hey, doesn't my transformation turn off?" He's like, "No, that's a curse. That's not like a magic spell or something." So that's fine. So like it's like, okay, well, what are the things that you can do? What you can't do? I don't know.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Stuff. Yes, it's going to be very interesting. I I don't know. And it's only coming up, straight up from the hole too. So it's like,
Yes.
they're talking about flying the ship over high enough that it's not as affected. But then
Yeah.
it's like, then they're talking about only having Xandus and Ira on the boat. And then, trusting Ira to get Xandus off. And they're like, Xandus will die. Ira is not going to help Xandus get off the boat.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I don't
I
know.
don't know. I feel like they're
It kind of
putting.
takes. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like they're putting way too much trust in Ira.
Oh, 100%. I don't know that he can trust him at all. Like, I think
No.
he's playing them as much as he can, because they were like, well, we've got someone that we can use here, and he's got the same goal as us, maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. So moving forward, they want to get Rin and Liliana and bring the whole place down. After they get Rin and Liliana, so Bo and Caleb will go in from the other side, and they can all kind of meet in the middle. That's what their plan is. They're going to take out whatever they can in regards to the cores and the key. Caleb gives Chetney a sending stone so that they can communicate. Caleb takes a look at the warder, which is still functional, but its energy core is damaged. Maybe FCG can do something with it. We talked about this. And Imogen ushers another crawler away by saying she's having issues with the warder. For now, Bo and Caleb are going to circle around. They'll stay in touch. Ground team discusses bringing Fern and FCG and leaving Xandus, like you said, to be on the ship with Ira. And they still don't know if they can trust Ira, like we were just talking about. But they have to make a decision, and that's kind of where they close it out. A couple notes here at the bottom, which I think we've already kind of hit most of. Bo and Caleb. It's Bo and Caleb, which I think is fun.
Yes.
Skyship is scary. Will it be time for people to escape? And then this is what I was going to say. FCG could totally do something with the warder. Maybe they can bring Fern and FCG back from the Skyship. Never split the party, and the solstice is coming. So, all right. So we got to the end. What do you think?
Well, first of all, they just threw a tent over the warder. Like this massive, huge robot. They just tried to put a tent over to hide, which didn't work. Because, part of it is okay, you guys tried to come in stealthy, but weren't stealthy at all, and you killed people, and you destroyed a robot. So what are we going to do with the bodies and the robot? And they're like, the tents. No. So now the whole thing is okay, well, what are we going to do with it? They talked about some of them getting inside of it and trying to like operate it from the inside. Then they talked about fixing it, and it just sounds like a mess.
I totally
so
think
it will be interesting to see what they do.
Put FCG's core inside of that one and let FCG be the big thing. That might be interesting.
Yeah, but that was really unstable. Remember whenever the professor was messing around with that? And he was like, oh, you got to be super careful, otherwise it will blow up.
But what if he could, like, go inside of it and use it like, a Jaeger or something? Like, he's inside of the thing.
I mean, FCG's going to end up being the bomb. Let's be honest. He's going to flip that coin. The Changebreaker is going to tell him to be the sacrifice and the bomb, and he's going to blow up.
Flipping that coin. I don't know.
I hope I'm wrong, but I kind of...
Right. I think... So you're calling FCG as the bomb. I talked about this before. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but I think you're right. You're calling that. I'm thinking... I know you're on the side of... Team Imogen stays with the group. I'm on the side leaning. Imogen's going to turn and go with her mom. I think that's going to happen. We may see a new Laura Bailey character.
So I am FCG's going to be the bomb, but Predathos is going to be released anyways.
Oh,
I still think Predathos is going to be released.
100%. This is the beginning
and
of another calamity.
And I do think that Imogen will do the right thing.
I hope so. I think it's not going to happen, but I hope it does. I hope she does the right thing. But I feel as if something's going to happen. Prodathos is going to get out. She's going to end up wanting to be with her mom. And when it comes down to the choice of being with her mom or not, I think she's going to do it.
I mean, I guess technically Imogen could be the mom too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I still feel like
She leveled that
SCG is the
whole-
more. Yeah.
But we also don't know what it's like when, like, is it, here's the thing. Was it that Imogen had the big explosion? Or was it that Imogen was so close to Odahan and the two of them together made the explosion?
I don't know.
After Laudna died. So, because my point is, to William's point earlier, what if having all of those people together is what's amplifying the stuff?
Yeah.
It could be like the combination of the power, like you're too close, too many Exalteds together.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I think
I don't know.
everybody's been assuming that it was just Imogen, but what if it wasn't?
Yeah.
Because she wasn't there alone.
Right.
Oh, we'll see. Bless you. Bless you.
Oh, excuse me. No, I do think it was Imogen. I think because of how her power manifests and how Odahan's power manifests, I think it was Imogen. But it could have been there could have been the catalyst of them being together that made it as big as it was. But I still feel like Imogen she's really powerful. So
I agree.
it'll be really, I don't know. I feel like we got so much in the last half of this episode, and then so next episode is going to be just off the wall, I think, which is going to be exciting. Pretty much from them meeting Bo and Caleb, I was like, oh my god, yes, this is awesome. All right, let's get some stuff done. So now Keyleth is going to show up with the Ashari, so that's going to be interesting, and that's going to be Keyleth and Bo.
Bo and Caleb know Keyleth's mom.
Yes.
Remember? Because they met on the island.
Yeah. And they sent her home.
So,
yeah, because they killed whatever his name was under the mountain, the volcano. Vokodo or Vokodo, whatever his name was.
I don't know, everybody. It's going to be interesting. Well,
I know. I mean, how is it not going to be world ending? I mean, all of the characters are coming together.
Calamity Part 2. So, all right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Those of you in the chat, and for those of you that are watching this later, thanks for checking it out. If you have any of your own thoughts, make sure you put them in the comments. And we will check it out. But yeah, until next time, we'll see you later. Take care.